Hey everyone, welcome back. Y'all, we are just two conversations away from wrapping up this season of the Speaker Podcast. This is your host, Camille Essex. This conversation is one you do not want to miss. So I need you to hit that notification bell and subscribe and share. I need you to tag your friends, your cousins, your uncles, your nephews, your aunties. Tag everybody, or as we say in the South, everybody. I need you to tag everyone. This is going to be a phenomenal conversation. I'm honored. I'm excited for so many reasons. So, with that being said, I want to welcome the one and only, the Pastor Abraham Belanger from First Fruits Community Church, the other FFCC. So
Hey,
I'm FCC, he's FFCC. So,
that's right.
welcome, Pastor Belanger, to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me. I'm so glad to be here with you tonight on the Speaker Podcast. I've been anticipating this moment since you invited me. So thank you so much. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Hey Angela, what's going on? That's right. Tag everyone. We definitely want to get the views and likes up on this. It's going to be a really good conversation. So, before we hit into everything else, get into everything else, be sure to follow me on Instagram at Camille.Essick. We do have new scents available at Chemistry Room Fragrances. You can get that right now. Be sure to subscribe. That way you are up on the loop and in the know of everything. Hopping right into the conversation, Pastor Bellinger, those that are not familiar with you and who you are, what you do, just kind of let a little bit of what you know. Tell the people a little bit more about yourself.
Sure. Well, basically, I'm a pastor here in South Carolina, Somerville, the pastor of First Fruits Community Church. I'm also a professional in the corporate world. I'm a senior training consultant with a really, well, actually, the world's largest hospitality company. So I've been there about 19 years. I'm a husband of one wife. You know how we say one wife, no sweethearts on the side, right?
No side chick.
Got five amazing children. I call them children, but my oldest is 26. My youngest is 8. She act like she's 26. Just bought a new puppy. I'm a family man, church man, work man. I just overall just love doing what I do. Just really, really excited to be here and glad that God connected us.
Yes, me too. And I think this connection is gonna go very far. So I'm offline as well. Um, you said you're a family man. You said you're a husband. You're a pastor, but that's not how it started. So
Not at all.
let's go all the way back. Like, where did you get your start? Like, how did you get here to be the husband and the father and the pastor? Because that's not how it started. So can you take us back to the beginning?
Right. So if I mention the town that I'm from, I'm pretty sure I don't think anybody will know it. It's called Watkins Glen, New York. It's a small little town in upstate New York. That's where I were born. That's where I was born.
Okay.
And like the median income right now for families there about 35,000 a year.
Wow.
So now you backtrack all the way to the year I was born in 76.
So we're painting the
And
picture.
right. Yeah, we were growing up in poverty. It was it's a beautiful place, but we had nothing. We were at the bottom of the pole, it was
Hmm.
pretty rough. So I literally got off to a rough start, Watkins Glen, New York. My mom and my dad married when they were very young.
Okay.
My dad, he's a really amazing musician, super talented. He could come and be like the organ player for my church. Like, I mean, he's that good. But he was in the rock, the rock genre. So, he's playing rock and roll music, touring the United States, open up for all these big rock stars and stuff. And I would see him a lot. But we had a pretty dysfunctional family. So as a kid, I saw there was a lot of abuse, or there was a lot of neglect in a sense. There was a lot of things that most people honestly don't really make it out of, or if they do, they have scars throughout their whole life and things that they don't really overcome. And so, I think it was about the age of 9 or 10 after my parents got divorced, that my mom met somebody else and uprooted us and brought us to Columbia, South Carolina. Right?
Okay.
Have you ever watched The Wizard of Oz?
Yes.
I know it sounds corny, but to me, that's like what it was like. In that movie, it's all black and white, right? And then like there's a part where like Dorothy opens the door and she steps out and everything's in color, right? So I get to South Carolina and that's how it was to me. Like everything was totally different.
Wow.
totally nothing about anything where I came from. I mean, it was complete opposite, and it was a shock to me, you know. And I
Culture
think that
shock.
kind of
You hear a
yeah,
lot of things
culture.
about the South, but when you get here, it's like, oh, okay.
Right, right.
So growing up in that situation, in that environment as a teen, how are you coping at that time?
Yeah, so like when I get to South Carolina, you know, I had a stepdad worked really hard. My mom was working hard, but I did not fit in. Especially the culture was just amazing. It was so different. I'm just gonna just be straight up. I'm a straight shoot with it. Like I grew up in a town that was all white. You know,
Okay.
here I am now amongst
Painting the picture some
everybody.
more. You're adding some more to the canvas. Okay.
Right, right. Yeah, we're gonna paint this picture real good. So we're gonna add color to it, literally, because like there were no black people in Watkins Glen. And so like I moved here and like I see like all like just people, like different people. And I'm sitting there like, man, this is awesome, you know, because I wasn't taught to hate anybody, even though there was a lot of people in my family that were super racist. I wasn't taught that. And so, you know, I'm making friends with everyone, thinking everything's good, and you know it's fitting in with some, and others were not liking me because I was that way, which caused a lot of chaos in my teen years. And I mean it was insane to where like I mean I literally had you know the KKK showing up.
Wait,
And
you cannot just gloss past that. The Triple K Mafia showed up at your house.
yeah, and this is I promise you, like I'm not lying. Like I had, as a matter of fact, you know, and I know I'm kind of jumping a lot, but I had brain surgery when I was 15 years old. When I came back home from the brain surgery, I thought one of my friends was coming to see me.
Mhm.
I opened up the door and there was like some people I didn't know and they were asking for me. So I knew something was up. And I told my friend, he went out there and they had guns. They were going to shoot me, and they were with the KKK.
No, sir.
They were leaving flyers, or yeah, like
Why?
you
Were they
think like that's back
recruiting
in the
or what was going
60s. And
on?
man, listen, it was insane.
So were they recruiting or what was like why were they showing up?
No, they were showing up because they knew like most of my friends were black. They did not like me. They hated me. They went to school with me. Yeah, and they wanted to kill me. And literally, like it was the grace of God that you know kept me alive, because I didn't even know they were coming to kill me. My best friend went out there and they pulled the guns out on him. You know, and it was crazy. You know, so it's like here I am in the whole culture like of like why don't people even love each other? Why don't people like each other? You know, I wasn't brought up that way, but then I got immersed into that very quickly, right? And so you either make a choice, either you capitulate to the hate or you be who you are. And I've always been a loving person, so I was like, well, listen, most of my friends in middle school, high school were black, you know, and I was like, that's how it's gonna be, you know. If you're white and you want to be my friend, great. But most people didn't want to, you know, because they were brought up and taught you know, differently. They were taught that hatred. So it was a talk about a culture shock. It was insane. Hey, Olivia.
Hey sis. We have more people coming into the room. If you're just tuning in, I'm sitting down with Pastor Abraham Belanger. We're having a really good conversation. He's taking us on a journey from his life prior to being a pastor. So if you have not done so, please like, comment, and share. Thank you for tuning in, everyone. So you were telling us, Pastor Belanger, that the Klan shows up at your house. Your friend steps in. So then what happens after this point?
So when my friend was in, my stepdad actually came out and chased him off the property, you know, with his weapons. It was just insane. And so yeah, so I just, you know, I just kept kind of surrounding myself with, you know, people who I felt like weren't only my friends, but like they would also protect me and stuff. And so I started hanging around a lot of the wrong crowd too, in the process of trying to fit in. And so that's where I kind of my life, you know, started as a teenager, heading in the wrong direction, obviously, you know, started smoking weed, right? I mean, my friend called me up our first day of high school. He was like, meet me at the bus stop like 30 minutes early. And he comes with a Ziploc bag full of like rolled up joints. And we smoked them all before we went to school. It was my first time smoking weed. And ever since then, I was like smoking weed and drinking, you know, in high school and just
So
falling
was
into
this
the
a
wrong
form of
crowd.
coping? Because it seemed like during
Yeah.
this time period, a lot of teens begin, we call it the gateway. Some people call it the gateway to other things.
Yeah.
Coming from New York to the South, being away from everything you know, having the Klan to show up at your house. coming out of an abusive home,
Mm-hmm.
then this. And so here's an opportunity. So can you kind of touch on what can young people do when they're experiencing these things in their teen years and
Yeah.
have another out versus going down that path?
Right. It's really challenging if you think about it, because it wasn't like I had resources, or maybe there was resources or somebody I could reach out to, but I didn't really know who to reach out to. But so that's why I surrounded myself with like my friends and stuff. And of course, they too were going through issues, and so like we're really I learned later on in life that I was dealing with abandonment. I was dealing with rejection. I was dealing with, not fitting in, like not feeling like I belong. We're built as people to belong, but when you don't belong, you'll do whatever you can to belong, because that's a part
Mm,
of our yearning on the inside. And so the ways I dealt with it was, with the weed, I tried to cover, the pain up with all of these things that really just kind of compacted the issue, and really compounded it, and made it a big problem in my life, because it went from just kind of, okay, smoking weed, to now I'm selling weed, to now, I'm running into clubs and doing all types of stuff when I'm like 16, 17 years old, to where I ended up facing 77 years in prison, at the
okay,
age of 18.
wait a minute. That was a big jump, sir.
Big jump.
So,
We can hop back though. We can hop back.
yeah, let's, as Pastor Moore say, "Do-do-do-do-do." Let's run that back. Okay, rewind.
Rewind.
So, um, how did you get into selling oregano?
Yeah. So I was selling that real good oregano too. I had friends and new friends, and one of my friends uncle was the biggest drug dealer in Colombia. And so I went to him. I was like, listen, man, I need to sell for you, man. And he's like, all right, hey, pull up to the gas station, pop your trunk, and wait. And then they drove up, 3 pounds of weed in my trunk, told me this is how much I owe them. So, we did a whole lot of stuff, things I can share, things I don't share. But, we that's how I got into it. And look, honestly, if can I just be honest,
That's what I want.
I
Yes,
did
please.
not have to do that. Like
Right.
it wasn't like we were doing much better, right? So there was really no reason for me to do those things, except I got pulled into it in a sense, and I desired that. My mom used to always say, "You will be who you are around," right? If whoever you're hanging around, that's who you're going to become. And that's even true in the church. Like you can be
Mhm.
saved, but you can be around negative people, and you'll become a negative thinker, right? Or okay, I'll leave that alone. But so it's like,
Please,
you know what
please,
I'm saying?
please dig into that. We can
It's
talk
it's
about
the
all of that. Yes.
it's the company, right? So part of it was the things I was going after myself, and then the rest of it was the company I was around, and it just kept building on top of it, and it was all just really a cover up, again, for the pain, for the feeling of not belonging, like I just didn't fit in, right? I mean, even amongst all of my friends that were pretty much black, I fit in, but I didn't, right? I mean, that's the white boy who think he black. Well, I mean,
So hold
I don't
on.
think I'm black. I'm just light skinned. That's all.
Well, now I listen. When I saw you online, I said, "No, this is not mayonnaise. This is honey mustard right here because he has some flavor."
Not
He's
honey
been
mustard. What?
he's been cookout approved for a minute. So
Yeah. Yes. Oh, for sure. Yeah.
let's talk about that for a second because we hear these things like someone's trying to be a certain way,
Mhm.
and it's about community, right? I heard someone say before that race is not always sometimes your skin color, but your perception of the world.
Mhm.
And how you perceive the world is based on your community, your environment, how you grew up. So to
Right.
have the Klan attacking you and coming to your home and pulling out guns, and now you're in this situation, doesn't that impact the people you fall in love with? Or does it influence the people you fall in love with?
Mm. Wow. Yeah. It can. I think it can push you two different ways. I think the pressure of like, well, yeah, it was, yeah, it was crazy, because even like with the friends that I was around, like I really didn't feel like I fit. So I was just doing things to fit into. I think that's the problem, that's the challenge a lot of like teens or young adults are dealing with, is like like they feel like they're a part of a community when they're really like community is common unity. And and so like they're trying to squeeze in and they're trying to be something they're really not. And that can lead to a lot of issues, man, in so many different ways. It doesn't even have to come from a street perspective. I mean, I've experienced that in the corporate world, right? Here I am. By the way, first of all, did not complete high school. I have a GED to this day. I'm that person that if I fill out an application, I'm checking some college, right? Not like I don't have my degrees or anything, right? And and I believe in education. That's just my story. So
Right.
even in corporate world, here I am sitting in an audience of people who have bachelor's, masters, PhDs, and I'm feeling inwardly like I'm not even qualified for this. And yet there's gifts and things that God initially puts in us from the beginning that he qualifies us to be whatever he wants us to be when he wants us to be, and puts us in rooms with people we don't even know
Right.
to show us like we still belong, we still fit in, or we can still influence and impact, right? So
Yeah.
it's just I think like the pressures that I was getting caused me to lean more into trying to just live this rough world. Like I always felt threatened. So I was like, well, I have to be like this gangster type of person. Like I wasn't part of a gang, but I was like, I was living that life. And so I did all this to put up barriers of protection to kind of, say, hey, you can't come but so far. You're not gonna get to me. You're not gonna take me out. I've been through too much hurt, been through too much pain. So I built all these barriers up, just like people build up barriers all the time in their heart.
Yeah. So just looking at everything as far as your journey up until now, getting into the we call community
Mhm.
pharmaceutical representative. We're gonna use the nice words. um,
Yep.
and in this, and you said it was all rooted, started out from childhood of rejection and abandonment. And I think we've
Mhm.
all experienced that to a point. And then you touched on another thing when you started talking about worthiness,
Mhm.
because us not feeling worthy can influence our choices as far as how we live in our lives, the people we bring. People come into our lives, but it's up to us whether or not we allow them to stay or not. And
Right.
so when we're in a space where we feel like, well, I don't deserve this, but this is okay. So now we're settling, right? Now we're dumbing down our choices. We're dumbing down our friends. We're dumbing down our community
Mm.
because we don't feel like we deserve what we really deserve. And we look at ourselves through the eyes of our past and not through the eyes of God.
Wow. Yeah. And then add to that, like my mom was a believer, but like I didn't come up in church. So I didn't have like that foundation about like, oh, here's this big, huge creator God that loves you and has a purpose for you. Like I never heard that message. Not that my mom didn't believe in me or, not that others didn't believe in me, but I just don't ever remember hearing that. So when you're not hearing those messages, when people aren't pouring into who you are like a dad, I was just telling my kids like my role in your life is to lead and guide you into who you are, like to help you understand the vision of who you are so that you have a path, so you have a purpose, so you know where you belong, right? And so when you're missing that, and you're missing the nurturing side of life, I mean, then other people, other voices are going to come there and fill those voids, or you're going to find people to fill those voids, or you're going to find substances to fill those voids, or you're going to find, listen, and it doesn't have to be drugs, it can be sex, right? It could be pornography, it can, oh gosh, Lord, don't say that in the church. That's why I'm glad I'm on the podcast and not in the church, because some things people don't talk
We
about.
talk about it here. And the
Good,
thing
good, we
is,
should.
the flesh is like Russian roulette. It's Pandora's box, right? We're going to
Hmm.
use the term flesh, is
Yep.
churchy word, but we all have the potential to do
Hmm.
anything. But
Hmm.
your thing, and I'm putting air quotes around that, your thing, I maybe could deal with it, get in and get out and fine. But then
Yeah.
you can do the same thing and you don't bounce back from it. We see it all the time where people have gone down a path of drugs, alcohol,
Hmm.
pornography addictions. They do it, whatever. And the next
Yeah.
person get into it and they're locked in for life. And some people die in it.
Yeah,
And it's
that's
like
true.
we take a risk every time, we hear the term YOLO, you only live once, just try it. But that one time could be the time. It's like Russian roulette and it takes you out.
Yeah, I just had a young man, like, as a matter of fact, he came to our church many years ago, heard me preach, got baptized, but like was just addicted to drugs, like really bad. And we worked with him for years and years and years. And he just recently overdosed. We did the homegoing right in our church, and it was just tragic. It's really sad. So I think like it's easy to kind of judge or look at those things, but like we're really called to have conversations like this to help people, because somebody right now, maybe they're not dealing with it, but maybe they know someone dealing with that, right? Or maybe they have and they're still struggling. They need to be free. I mean, tonight is that night. Like it's not always somebody praying for you in church is gonna loose you from that. Sometimes it's hearing a conversation and that hope sparking up something on the inside that brings that deliverance. And so that's why, Camille, I'm just glad like you do the Speak Her podcast and you have these conversations and bring in people like myself to talk about this.
It's necessary. Um, Hopping back into the conversation. So you said it was your uncle that put you on and got you in the game?
My friend's uncle, yeah,
Your
yeah, my
friend's
friend's
uncle.
uncle, yep, and then my best friends and all my crew I was hanging out with, and so, the crazy thing is, so, like, here I am, like, 16 years old, and, smoking weed, I'm high, I pass out in the back seat in my own car, letting my friend drive it, wake up to police all around us, I don't know what's going on, right? And they take us all to jail, it was 4 of us, and I'm in jail and I sit down at a table and the police has like an Advil bottle, a chapstick bottle. I'm thinking like, oh shoot, his lips is chappy and like he got a headache or something. He opens it up and dumps crack cocaine all over the table. And he was like, they say it's yours. And I'm like I never saw crack. Like I knew they sold it, but I didn't think he was selling it out of my car. But while I was passed out, he was. And so because nobody owned up to it, they automatically charged all 4 of us with 2 30-year charges, which was 60 years off the rip. That was my first time to jail. I was facing 60 years in prison.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, exactly. Look how
How many
that
years?
escalated.
Oh, that math.
Woo!
You're really mathing right now. Lord have mercy. Okay, so
Mm,
these people are supposed to be your friends, right?
right, right.
But they say you did it.
Yeah, they say I did it, right? So here I am, literally in the jail cell. First time in the jail cell, I'm like, oh Lord, like you ain't gangster anymore when you're facing 60 years, and I got another 17. I'm gonna tack on to that here in a few. But so I'm
Ooh.
I'm I'm in the jail cell. I didn't own up to the drugs because they weren't mine. They really weren't. So I get back in the jail cell, and they're like, did you take the rap? I'm like, yeah, I signed some papers and I was lying. I just signed papers to get out, right? So the guy that I went to jail with that was his drugs, he had a rap sheet that could stretch across my church and I didn't even know it. So he was trying to get me to take his charges. And shoot, man, I ain't take nothing, man. I ain't even gonna lie. Like, you ain't my friend no more, man. You trying to take me down. You ain't gonna own up to that. It was
So
crazy.
so where did the other 17 years come from?
Okay, so a week before that, I had got in a big fight. Those same brothers, we all went to high school, and please don't like laugh. I know, well, you can laugh. It's okay. So it was over my girlfriend. Like there was just some beef going on, and I'm like, we're gonna go to her high school. We're gonna jump these dudes, man. So we did. We like smoked about 4 blunts, got to the high school, got out the car, went down to the track team. They were all rehearsing or practicing, and we jumped these guys on the field, right? Just beat them up. And I left. They got my license plate. And here in South Carolina, when you jump someone, they call it lynching. Yeah. Okay. So all of a sudden, I get it.
Wait a minute. That's a hot word.
It's a hot word. You're right. Because I'm like, the police
In the
show up at
South.
my door.
In the South, that's a hot word.
Real hot word. I'm like, can it just be like aggravated assault? Can it be like, because they look at it as like a bunch of people jumping a person or some people, and right, and so like when they come to my mom's house with a warrant, 6 in the morning, pull me out of my bed, throw me in the backseat of the car. My mom's like, what is he getting locked up for? They were like second-degree lynching. I'm like, lynching? Like I ain't hang nobody. That's the
In
first.
South
What are you
Carolina,
talking about? All my friends black. Like, what are you talking about? I didn't even jump nobody that was. But come on, what's wrong, man? It was
I'm not
crazy.
laughing, but at the same time, I'm like, that is a lot.
Yeah, it's a
That's
whole
a
lot.
lot.
So here I am now. I'm back in jail.
Oh
People are in the
God.
jail cell like, "What are you locked up for?" I ain't telling them this time. I'm lying, making up stuff. I'm like, "Cause I ain't gonna tell nobody second degree lynching." Like, what? Is you
You're
crazy?
white around black people. That's not the story you want to
No,
tell.
that is definitely not the story. So that was a 15-year charge, Camille. So 60 years now. I got another 15 I'm facing,
I
right?
could not. I would have been like Mr. Brown on Medea. Oh, jeez. Like I would have been
Right.
done.
So I get out of jail, right? Pay bond or whatever. And the guys I got in the fight with, they were threatening to kill me. Like they were making death threats. So, I went to see my girlfriend at the mall and I took my stepdad's pistol with me. And sure enough, they were at the mall. 8 of them hopped out of the van. I had 16 bullets and one in the chamber. So I was like, well, I will shoot all of them. I got 2 bullets for each person. So I pulled my gun out, broad daylight at Columbiana Mall.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Lord,
Now you're
God
doing
was
a Tommy Egan. What is going on here?
yeah,
Before power,
right.
sir.
Man, you just don't know. But let me tell you something. So when I pulled the gun out, had it at them, pointed at them, broad daylight, and I didn't know it then, but that was the first time I ever heard God actually speak. And I heard a voice say, "Put the gun back." Now, in the streets, you don't pull out no gun, you don't brandish your weapon and not do nothing.
Not unless
But
you're
it
gonna
was so
use it.
powerful. It was almost like he forced me to, in a sense. And I did. I put the gun back in my waist and I walked off. And long story short, the police caught me in the mall, brought me outside. They were about to let me go. And this white lady was like, "He's got a gun in his waist." Yep.
Oh,
"Put your hands up." So I put my hands up. They pull up my shirt, throw me on the ground. Here I am going back to jail a third time on 2 pistol charges. Each one carried a year. So they ran all of those charges concurrently, which
wait, say
means,
that again and talk to me like I'm slow.
yeah, yep,
One more time.
yeah. So they gave me 2 one-year pistol charges. So they were like unlawful possession of a pistol, unlawful possession of a firearm. And so they took those 2 charges. I spent about a month in jail, and they took all the other charges and ran them together to where when I went to court, I was facing 77 years in prison.
Pause.
Yeah.
Listen,
I wanted to pause. I wanted to pause. I was like, Lord, please pause this right here.
listen, y'all. Please like, comment, and share.
Share,
Get
share,
in on
share,
this conversation
share.
right now. I don't even think we've gotten to the apex of this conversation yet. For some reason, I feel like there's more. So,
Yeah, right.
Pastor Bellinger is looking at 77 years
Hmm.
for narcotics and weapons.
There you go. That's a
That
good
is
man. You
77.
frame that so nicely. That sounds so nice. Narcotics and weapons. Yep, you're right.
You know, while I worked in the law firm, we dressed it up.
Right, right, exactly.
And I was a paralegal for JAG in the Navy. So I understand the
Right.
lingo.
Yeah.
However, comma space. This
Yeah.
story right here is a lot.
Mm.
Pastor B, it's a lot.
It's a whole
So
lot.
it's a whole lot.
It's a whole lot
So
because, like, here I am standing. What, I was like 18 or something, standing in front of the judge, praying to a God I don't even know. He and rewind. Like I told you, when I was 15, I had 16 hours of brain surgery. I had a tumor in my head the size of a grapefruit. I came out of 16 hours of brain surgery when they told me I could be blind, paralyzed if I make it out. Like, came out perfectly fine from that surgery, right? And now here I am. You would have thought that would have like kind of put me on the right road. I'm
and you
facing
just kept going down the
70.
rabbit hole,
I was
sir.
going down to the abyss. Like, I was like 77 years. Like, I'm sitting there. I couldn't even, like, I'm in the courtroom, like thinking like I'm really facing 77 years
You
and just
haven't really
praying like,
started
God,
life
please.
yet.
Yeah. I haven't even lived my life. Like, God, please. Like, I did not see a way out. I just, you could not have told me. You could not have told me that I would be here right now. There's no way. There was no way out. And
Okay.
I'm literally praying in the courtroom, and all of a sudden the judge, and you're gonna be blown away by this too. The judge calls the prosecutor and my lawyer up, and the guy that I went to jail with, he actually ended up owning up to his drugs. Like nobody knew it. So they automatically dropped the 2 30-year charges on myself and the other two guys that I got locked up with. So I went from facing 77 years to facing 17 years, right? So then they dropped the 15-year second degree lynching charge to a simple assault and they dropped that for time served because I spent like like a month and a half in jail. So I went from facing 77 years in prison to facing now 2 years. And I'm like, shoot, dang, I'm gonna have to man up and do like 2 years. They ended up giving me 1 year probation off of 77 years. And it was not white privilege. I'm just want to tell you that right now. It wasn't. The judge openly, and you would be so shocked. Like when I think about it to this day, it's insane. The judge hated me because he knew most of my friends were black. And he said in the courtroom, I want to bury you under the prison cell. That's what he told me. And he
Oh, so
told
the
me
judge was biased.
oh, he was totally biased. He said, yeah, but wait, there's more, right? He says, but he's like, you're getting a year probation only because the guy owned up to the drugs, but I would bury you, and because you're getting probation, you can't hang around black people.
Did he just walk off? Did he just
what? Like
God
let that be done now. That man Camille, I was like, what? like all my gangster rose up in me, but then I was like, I had to hush it down because I was like, this man just did not say that in the courtroom.
How can you put a racial disclaimer on your sentence?
Like I ain't gonna lie, I wish I could like meet that judge to this day, I don't know. Anyways, yeah, so I ended up doing 1 year probation off of 7.
And you walked off.
And
I was told about that, so it's okay.
woo-wee.
Oh God.
My God. It was God's grace. It was definitely God's grace. And I didn't know it because again, I had no idea God was actually in the midst of all of this stuff. You know, it was crazy. So now I'm like, shoot, I just got off of 77 years.
Oh, so now your chest is out again.
Oh, yeah, my chest way out. I'm like in the club that I'm not even supposed to be in the club. I got weed in my car, weed on me.
But
guns.
you just got off and you back turned up in the club.
Listen, turning up. We invented that. They talk about turning up. We started that.
What year is this at this point?
1996.
Oh, this was the 99 in the 2000s for real.
The 99, man. Bring it back to the 99. Well, see, I was saved in 99, but 96. Oh my gosh.
Listen, the kids don't know. The 90s was everything. That's what
crazy.
We had.
I just watched that TLC thing the other night. I told my wife, I was like, I cannot get I said, I'm preparing for this podcast and I cannot get TLC out my mind, man. I gotta pray, y'all. The 99s, they don't know nothing about that. They don't know nothing about
the 96. I was in bereavement because Tupac left here. I remember the day. I remember the hour.
Listen, Biggie. Oh my Lord.
The 99s and the 2000s was everything. That's when you had the Von Dutch hats, the choker necklaces, cargo pants.
They don't know about that stuff these days. They don't know nothing. I don't know what they wearing these days.
MTV Cribs.
Cribs. What? Yo, MTV Raps. Come on.
Oh,
I remember
pre-106 in Park. We had pagers. This was pre-106 in Park. We had pagers, right?
Thank you. Oh yeah, I had my page in the club, and I made sure I wore it to where when it lit up, everybody could see the green that green light.
You had the clear one and it lit up.
Yep, clear one lit up, looked like a little rainbow and all that stuff. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We are dating ourselves.
Yeah, so I'm like wilding out now, on my probation. Like, shoot, my mom like, you just got off for 77 years and da. She trying to give. She should have knocked me out because I was wilding. Because I was like, I just got off for 77 years. But you know what? God worked that thing out. it was kind of tragic how it happened. My grandfather, who I looked up to, was like a really solid male role model in my life. He was a phenomenal carpenter, built his house for my grandmother. He had got lung cancer, and my mom went to upstate New York to go take care of him,
Mhm.
and he passed away in '96. And at that point in time, I had moved out of the house because my stepdad put a gun to my head
Whoa.
because I was dating a black woman.
Time out. Run that back. Like I didn't just hear what I thought you said.
Yep, my stepdad put a gun to my head because I was dating this young lady. Now I didn't marry that young lady. I married somebody else, but I was dating this young lady, and he did not. I didn't know he was racist. That's the crazy thing. Like I really honestly did not know he did not like black people until she left the house that night, and he was coming home, and we got in a fight, and I came back because I left the house. I came back because I forgot my keys, and he answered the door with a pistol, the same pistol I went to jail with. He answered the door with that pistol, cocked it back, put it to my ear, threw me on the sofa, and he was like, "I'm gonna blow your brains out. I'm gonna enjoy doing it." He's spitting on my face. He's like, I'm gonna enjoy this better than a bunch of other stuff he was saying. And then I didn't know who God was, but you know how it is when your life is on the line, you're gonna call on Jesus. I was like, Lord, help me. And when I said that, his eyes turned red, his face turned red, and he said, "You better call on God because I'm the devil." And he pulls the trigger. And he always had his gun loaded because I would go steal it, go outside and shoot it and stuff, just do stupid stuff. He takes the gun, pulls the trigger, and the gun just click jams. So he hits it, puts it back to this ear right here, and pulls it again, and then just steps off and walks off. Yeah. So fast forward, right? So I'm like,
No,
shoot,
we're
I can't
not
stay
fasting
here.
forward. We're not fasting forward. No,
Oh, yeah, we
sir.
can pause. We can stay right here. We can stay here. What do you do?
He
What do you
puts the
do?
gun to your head not once but twice.
Yep.
Says, "I'm going to kill you."
Pulls the trigger.
Pulls
The
the
gun doesn't
trigger.
go off. What leaves laughing and goes into his room, slams his door. And here I am sitting in the living room. My mom's in upstate New York taking care of my grandfather, So I'm like, I got to get out of here. Shoot. So I moved in with my best friend's sister. I was selling drugs down there all the time. I'm on probation,
And you're
selling
still and you're
drugs
back in these streets.
back in the streets, man. Like whatever. I ain't going back there. I know that. So my grandfather passes away. My mom comes back, and she helps me get an apartment. And my apartment was across the street from an apostolic church
Okay.
in
The
Columbia.
story's
Okay,
getting better.
exactly. Bishop
Okay.
William Lee Bonner was my first pastor.
Bishop Bonner?
Bishop Bonner, yep. Now I was selling weed to the kids in the Family Life Center. I was like, shoot, I might as well go ahead. I ain't had no money, I ain't had no job, shoot, I was still
It's a
street,
church.
street pharmaceuticals, but I'll just take it to the Family Life Center during their summer enrichment program. I was enriching the program. So I was so I
Time
was
out. No, stop. No, pause. At the church.
but think about this now. Think about this. This makes total sense,
Come
even though
on,
it's
let's
so horrible.
rationalize. Please help me. Okay.
You're right, Malcolm. My life is a movie, but it's a movie, a book, a movie, and a blog. So yeah, so like in the deacon's daughter next door, I thought she was cute, so I was trying to get with her. I didn't know she was deacon's daughter at that point in time.
You are
But
running game and putting in the work at the church.
putting in work. And
Continue.
that's back when, Camille, you remember those like real missionaries? Like the real mothers.
They were
Like,
thugs for Christ.
yeah,
Okay.
like she walked up to me. This mother walked up to me. She was like, "Praise the Lord." I'm like, "Praise who?" Like she was like, "Why don't you come to church Sunday morning?" I'm like, "Okay." And I did though. I went to church that Sunday morning. I'm like, "Shoot, yeah, I'm gonna go check it out." And I never been in an apostolic church. And I walk in, they speaking in tongues. I'm like, "Lord, I done got up in the cult." I was like, "Get me out of here. I ain't never coming back." I didn't know what was going on. And I sat all the way in the back
They
of the
were kind of a
church.
lot of bow ties and Hondas and
Man, what? I'm like, I have a Hyundai too. I'm sitting in the back of the church like, boy, this is a cult, bro. You want to hear something crazy though?
Go ahead.
I just want to
You
insert
are
this.
funny. Your community funny. Oh my gosh. Okay.
One night, well, on the way back from the clubs and stuff, we'd be high, and there was a billboard like on the way home, and it had Refuge Temple, it had Bishop Bonner's face on it, and like whatever the slogan was. And I used to look at that billboard, and I'd be so high, and I was like, man, that looked crazy. That looked like a cult or something. That's exactly what I said. And I ended up moving across the street from his church, going to a Sunday morning service, sitting all the way in the back of the church. It's like a 1,000-member church. So I'm sitting all the way on the last pew, like trying to get out the door. And that's when the choirs would march in. You know, they'd be leaning back and forth, singing while they marching in. And Bishop Bonner preached. And I was like, something's different about this. I was like, something's different. I was like, I got to come back. And I came back, Camille, that night for his night service. And I sat on the front pew. Instead of the back, I sat on the front because I just felt like something's different. You know, it kind of goes back to like, I didn't belong. I didn't know where to fit in. I done tried it. I done tried the women. I done tried the drugs. I done tried, you name it. You know, I was done. And I was sitting on that
done
front
enriching
pew.
the program.
I was done. Yep. And he preached again that night. And, you know, so everybody's shouting, praising God. I don't know what's going on. I'm just crying, you know. I'm just crying, snot coming out my nose. Like, I don't know what's going on, Lord. And this man runs past me like 3 times. And the third time he stops and he's like, are you saved? I'm like, from what, man? From what? And I didn't know what he was talking about. Like, are you saved? I don't know. And so he opens up the scriptures and like I get baptized and the Lord fills me with the Holy Ghost that Friday. And like I'm 18, 19, God just changes my whole life. Just literally just pulls me out. Like we always say it, pulls us out of darkness into his marvelous light. Like he literally did that with me. He literally pulled me out. So powerful. And just changed my whole life. Just changed it. It's amazing. It's almost unbelievable, but he really did that thing. Like he changed my whole life. And so now here I am starting off fresh and new. You know, I have an eviction letter, right? Because just because you saved doesn't mean your problems go away.
Life is
right?
still lifing. Life is still lifing.
Still lifing. Like I'm still in this tore up apartment. I get evicted. My pastor puts me up in one of his apartments, right? And God just started lining up stuff. I recognized the call on my life to preach, like from the day one. Like when he filled me with the Holy Ghost, I had a vision that I was preaching to a stadium full of everybody from every ethnicity, you know? So like I knew God was calling me to preach, but I had to go through the process, you know, and made a lot of mistakes after I see out. Camille, can I ask you a question? Like,
Yes.
why do we always testify about the stuff we did before we got saved? And we don't ever talk about the struggles after.
So I say there's BC,
BC?
but there's also DC during Christ.
During. Come on.
You got BC,
Come on.
but there's also DC during Christ.
Yes, there is. Because like I was still struggling. I mean, like I was saved, but I was still like trying to figure out things. And when you're anointed and gifted, and you know this, when you're anointed and gifted, don't automatically, and I hate to say this because it sucks, but it's true. You're not always going to even fit in your church. Because everybody was okay with me running around the church. Oh, he liked to run. He liked to praise. But the minute God started using me and using those gifts, you know, and that hurt. Like people started rejecting me. People started abandoning me. And like, I was like, hold up. I get that in the street, but in the church, like it shouldn't be that way.
And then that's when people are like, well, see, that's why I don't go to church.
Right. That's exactly why. Which is so sad because we should never use that as an excuse, but it does run people away. I was like, bump this. You know, I said some other words, and listen, I will say, but I was like, forget this. Like, I'm so done. And I went back in the clubs, Camille, and I was out there, and I went back, and I was doing the same stuff. I was in the club one night, and this guy I know comes to me. He's like, dude, he grabs me by my shirt and drags me out the club. He's like, you know you ain't supposed to be in here. You know you're a preacher. Go home.
Oh, it's something. Okay, I'm gonna tell on myself, y'all. Gather around, children. It's story time. Look at you. teacup just out. So church girl, grew up in church, went to college. I was like, oh, I'm going to live a regular life and to be normal.
Right,
So
right.
when homecoming weekend, some of
Uh-oh.
my sorority sisters, we played TSU. We went out. I had things in my cup that was not water,
Okay, 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 okay.
and was in the club when people were dancing or whatever. And across the room, somebody was like, what are you doing in here, church girl? And I was like, trying to play it off, like, oh, what are you talking about? How do you know? They were
Mm,
like, who? They said, who claps like this in the club? I was
right.
going to church girl. Because, and then I was like, whatever, played it off, went, started dancing. The voice kicks in and was like, you don't have any business in here. And I was like, nobody was standing next to me. And when I say God is the biggest buzz killer,
Come on.
and I was in a trance, like,
Ooh, Jesus.
and one of my friends was like, girl, come on. And I was
Mm,
like, okay. It messed me up because I had
right.
heard stories about people hearing God talking to them in the club in the party. But when it
Yeah.
happened to me, and I was
Mm,
like,
mm-hmm.
but continued, for a couple more years out there, whatever. But I had that experience in the club, and I was
Yeah.
shook. As they say, I was shook, like, oh my gosh. So when you
Right.
said that, it took me back to that moment. It is
Mm,
a real thing. God will shut all your partying down fast.
he will. And he also, like, sooner or later will reveal the root to why we responded that way when we were hurt. So I was saved, but I still had hurt in my heart from man, my dad and I, we are so close right now. I love my dad. My biological father is amazing, right? And I didn't even fully understand his story of all the abuse he went through as a kid, and but I had all of this hurt and all of this pain because I wanted to be with my dad. I loved my dad. Like, as crazy as things I were, like, I had good memories of my dad, but I was still struggled with the abandonment. So the
Yeah.
hurt and the pain was still in my heart, even though I was saved. And I needed deliverance. I needed like real healing. Not just a good dance and a shout, but like literal release and healing from that stuff. And it wasn't until years later. It was not until, honestly, after I married my wife in 2003, and when I moved to Somerville, and my dad really came back into my life, that he was standing in my driveway getting ready to go back home to New York. He came down to see me, to see my daughter, which, by the way, my daughter was born the same year I was saved, which was pretty awesome. Like, he came down to be a part of her life, part of my life, and I hugged him in the driveway and wept because, like, I had already forgiven him. I would like There was no animosity towards him, but it was just a closure. It was just a healing moment where I went inside and I laid across the bed, and here is a grown man, a married man, have kids, have a career, and I'm weeping like that little 7, 8-year-old boy used to weep when he didn't have his dad.
Wow.
But it was a release.
Yeah.
It was a release. And so God began to heal my heart. Like, I no longer, I had temper issues, Camille. Like, after
Angry.
I got saved, like,
Yeah.
I was quick to be angry. I had temper issues, but God healed me from that. So that's why, like, I would encourage anybody listening tonight, like, you might be struggling with some stuff on the inside. Like, you're saved, but you got some stuff in your heart. Like, you got to get to the root of it and let God get you there so he can really heal your heart, because it's going to be somebody you're going to have to minister and help them get through that stuff and help them find that deliverance and find that healing that God wants to give them. And I think sometimes we get into the dynamics of church or just the theatrics of it or whatever,
The
and don't
politics of it.
right. And like, we just really need to let the Spirit of God just saturate our hearts and bring that healing we all need, because we're saved, but our heart is deceitful above all things. Like we gotta let
Desperately
God get it.
wicked, and who can know it?
Yeah, yeah, that's right. That's right.
I think a lot of people put a lot of unfair perceptions on the church, like it's romanticized, like it's this perfect place, and
Right.
everyone is skipping and holding hands and singing, and it's
Yeah,
not like that. Wherever you have people, there are going to be issues, right? No
for
matter if
sure.
it's your job,
Mm,
school, church, as long as there's people, there's going to be some type of issue. But what's that scripture? Who can separate you from the love of Christ?
mm,
And you have to get to a point. Um, to me, I look at it as the 80-20-20 rule.
mm-hmm.
You're not going to have 100% from everything. But if
That's
I
right.
can get that strong 80, it can make up for that other 20%, right? And you have to make sure that you're all in and this is what I want. And no matter where you
Mm,
go, and sometimes finding your right church is like dating. You go to this one, okay, this isn't working out. Let
yeah.
me try this one. Even right
Mhm.
now, I'm a member of Faith Covenant. Getting here
Ooh,
was a journey, but
Pastor Mark Moore Jr.
yes, but it's been a journey. And even now, which
Mm,
I shared with you some things before getting on, I'm in a very um it's unfamiliar territory for me. I'm being stretched in ways I didn't think I could be stretched or would be stretched. And I'm like, why am I going down this path? I'm
mm,
gonna go this way. I don't understand it. Is it always easy? Is it 100%? Why I just know, XYZ? No, but I'm here and I'm making myself available. And you have to get to a point, no matter the distance, the time, if there's a person, if there's a misunderstanding, whatever it is, you have to dig in your heels
mm.
and how bad do you want it? Tupac said, how bad, how do you want it? But it's like, how
Yeah.
bad do you want it?
Mhm.
And at the end of the day, if you can go the distance to go to someone's concert, we will ride and go to a concert in another city,
Thank
or
you.
you dealt with things with friends worse, but kept going back to that circle, and you have to make a decision and say, this is for me, this is what I want, this is what I need, it's here, it's feeding
Mm,
me. And you have to tune out the noise.
that's
You have
right.
to tune out the noise and really get focused, because at the end of the day, it's not the people saving your soul, it's God saving your soul.
Mhm. And that noise, what I learned is that noise really honestly came more from within than the external, you know? Like, it's the old stuff that creeps back up into your heart and in your mind, like that makes you wanna doubt or makes you wanna like just stop, or just kind of settle. And though, God is calling you to more, or like, God is like pushing you into a place of like where you're really healed because there's more you have to do, but you can't do it until you're fully healed. So it's just like it's the journey, it's the journey is so key, like to really be mindful of the fact that God is doing something in our lives for his purpose and for his glory, which means it's going to be a sacrifice. Like if there's one thing I would definitely say that I've learned is your faith and your obedience is like God will back that up all day long. Like there's no way you can have faith and obedience and God not come through for you. So if it's you traveling back and forth to go to church, like in making that sacrifice, it's not just for you to be fed, it's because there's something you're going to contribute. There's something that you're going to be able to bring. Like God's doing these things. Like there's going to be healing in that journey too. It's like just like I came from Watkins Glen. Like who would have thought somebody from Watkins Glen, New York, would come to Columbia, South Carolina, and then get saved, and now here I am, like pastoring a church. Here I am, working for like one of the largest hospitality companies in the world, training people that are multimillionaires, helping them to make more money. Like, I mean, like you can make this stuff up. Like there's more in us, but there's a process and there's a journey like that we all have to go through. And if we don't, we miss out. Like if we don't, we really don't get to know God and who he really is. We don't get to know ourselves and find out who we really are. And there's a lot of people who will never be connected to unless we make those next moves and those next steps. It might be scary, but look, just take your faith and obedience and watch God work. He does it every time.
That's awesome. One more component of this conversation, going through all of that, how did you make yourself available for love
I'm so
to
glad
the
you said that. Yeah, it's saving the best for last. Oh, can I test? We got some. I know. Are we okay on time? Because I got time.
look, this black church, we don't.
Okay, okay, all right. That's what I thought. Yeah, all right. I don't know why they be. Listen, I got scripture for that. I really am light skinned. But I mean, my wife was like, "Dude, you need to just tell folk you white." I know I'm white. I just like to say I'm light skinned because I the one blood God made all nations. Anyways, back to the love. Camille, when I was in Colombia, I proposed to a young lady in the church there. My pastor said, "Son, call it off. Now it's not the time." Like it wasn't like there was something wrong with her. It was not the time. Like God was establishing me, but I was in my flesh, and I was like, I ain't calling nothing off. He don't want me to marry her because she black, I'm white. That's crazy. I'm saying this about my pastor in my heart. Now, wouldn't never say that out loud because you don't do that, right? But I was resisting. Long story short, God put me on my back for 3 weeks. Couldn't stand up without almost passing out. Went to the doctors. They couldn't find anything wrong with me. I thought I was gonna die. I'm laying in the back of my mom's house, praying, thinking like, oh, I'm like, Lord, I thought you chose me, da 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 da. And he was like, son, I have chosen you, but I'll take you out before you marry her. And like the
He shut it
scales fell,
down.
like the Apostle Paul, like the scales fell off my eyes. Like I knew it was God, like he was not playing. And I fell asleep, cried myself to sleep, repenting, woke up and realized I could stand up and like there was no issues. Like I was completely delivered and healed. So I went to church that Sunday morning. After church was over, like Bishop Bonner was like, son, I've been praying for you all night. He's like, it's good to see you this morning. He came down and prayed for me. Church was over. I went and called it off. Now I'm sitting in my, I'm got my new apartment, whatever, but I'm lonely. Like
Time
I
out.
have the whole,
Wait a minute. You okay?
yeah, because
You
you know how
went
people
from
get tied up with the wrong people. Okay, go ahead.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to recap because you've dropped a lot on us. You went from selling drugs. You were facing 77 years, 77 years in prison. And then your racist stepfather pulls a gun on you, pulls the trigger twice in your ear. God jams the gun. It doesn't go off.
Right.
You
Yep.
go back to the club after God saved your life from the jail because you were
All
going
that.
to jail, as he would
Right.
say, to jail.
To
And
jail.
then you meet this girl. No, then you were in the mall about to light up the mall.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Then
So I was
you're
facing all that time. My
all this
charges
time
get dropped.
dropped. Now
Selling weed to the kids in the church. I mean, listen,
selling
it's
weed
gonna
to
be
the
in my
kids in
book that I'm
church
releasing. So trust me,
at the
you'll be able to
enrichment
get.
program because you were enriching the program
Yeah, yeah,
with the deacons kids.
yeah. Help me,
Then,
Lord. Have mercy on me. Send me again, Lord
Lord
Jesus.
Jesus,
My God.
then you meet this girl, you're gonna marry her.
Right. Like,
God is
cause I
like,
get saved. I meet this, saved,
yes.
sanctified, Holy Ghost filled.
Then
Yeah.
God puts you on your back and he's like,
Not her, son. I'll take
So
you out
now
before
here
you
we
marry her.
are.
Yeah.
Okay, I just had to make sure I was comprehending. Whew,
Yeah.
this is
It's
a
a
lot.
lot to take in.
It's a lot.
Now, but then like so now I'm like I'm obedient.
Oh yeah, we
I
forgot the
cut it
clan
off
showed up at your
finally.
house. Yes, and the clan showed up at your house.
Oh yeah.
Jesus.
Woo! Jesus. And so like I'm like, Lord, like now I'm like having a pity party because I feel like I'm alone, like I don't have nobody. Da 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 da.
Hmm.
It's that loneliness creeping back up again, that abandonment creeping back up. And I remember sitting like literally, you talking about mental health, or you talking about people wanting to kill themselves, and you think about people that like get super depressed. Like back in those days, nobody was talking about depression like they're talking now, but I was experiencing that. I'm sitting and I shut myself in my own bathroom in the pitch black dark, and I'm talking to God like I'm lonely, and I heard the Lord say, "Am I not enough? Am I not enough?" And like long story short, He deals with me, heals me, ministers to me. And then I ended up preaching down here in Somerville, and that's how I met my wife. Now that I've been married to for 20 years now. I met her in a church service. Hallelujah. She's singing for me and all that good stuff. And I always say she was sweating me from day one, but she's like, "Man, you lying, you lying." I know she probably
No,
listening
no,
now.
I
She
gotta
probably
sit
gonna
up for
comment.
this. We weren't thinking about you, okay?
She wasn't thinking about me. She was like, "Who this white boy up in my church jumping up and down like you fool?" You know? Yeah, that was your future husband, baby.
Come on, white chocolate, let them
Look
know.
at God. White chocolate is white is in, y'all.
Oh
Don't
my
act.
god.
Listen. Any type of chocolate is good.
The
Anyways,
nine
so
nines and the 2000s is real.
yeah, but it was that's how I came to God led me to her, and we get engaged. She was a church girl, so she grew up in the church. She was saved at a
Time
young
out,
age.
first ladies in the comments, and
Yeah,
she said what she said.
she's right. This is his wife. Oh wait, hold on, that's her.
Hello,
Oh,
read
she
this.
on.
Yes, bouncing ball. This is his wife. I'm not thinking about him. Period.
Y'all need to like that comment. That's hilarious.
Ah,
Whew.
hey,
No, she's
first
telling the truth.
lady.
She wasn't thinking about me. She really wasn't. That's just my story in my mind. But something happened. I mean, I don't know. Something happened, and it was holy. God hooked that thing up. I mean, yeah, and it was a blessing. It really was a blessing. We got married in 2003. And but listen, Camille, I got to say this though. I really have to say this. I don't know who this is for now or later or whatever. We sat in front of her mom and dad's house, like I don't know, maybe a few weeks before the wedding, and we were young. I was what? I was like 26 or I don't know, something like. She was 23. Yeah, I was like 26, going on 27, and we had some level of fear or like not like scared, but like we're getting ready to be married, and so we said to each other like this is a commitment, like if we're gonna do this, let's do this, like we're gonna commit to whatever, like whatever it is, we're gonna do it, like we're gonna make this happen. And I can say that we've done that. We've had hard times, we had ups, we've had downs. My wife's had some physical issues, had her hip replaced twice. She's had a lot of issues. She's a lot of people don't know. Wait till she tell her story. Like
Well,
she's
see, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna bring her back with you, and we're gonna have that conversation
come on, part two. We
when
can
when
do
we
that.
start the new season. So put
Yeah,
just FYI.
right. But we've been through it, and God's been in it, and He's helped us. And
For
we
better or
just
worse.
we just celebrated 20 years of marriage, and it's like we can literally say like God has kept us, but we've decided to make the marriage what it is versus doing what many people do is they give up. And I understand because it is not easy. You're talking about two different people coming together and spending a life together. And then I'm a pastor, and then I'm this and all that. There's a lot that goes with that, and
That is true. I've heard some people say, "Well, I married this person," and then they get called to ministry, and it's like I didn't sign up for that. Technically, you
mm,
did when you said I do, because it's for better or worse, sickness and health, all of the things.
yeah.
But that's a part of the package, you know.
Right. And
Um,
she was super qualified. Like I know I wouldn't be who I am right now if it was not for her. I know it. Like God used her to balance me. God used her to mature me. God used her like to wisen me up. Like so many things to this day. Like it wasn't like just for a period of time. And then no, like constantly. She's that to me. And for her, I mean, she'll testify about it. Like she grew up in the church, but she really didn't have a relationship with God
mm,
until the Lord brought me into her life and brought that part into her life. So it was beautiful, and it's like it's really important to slow down and make sure you find the right person and don't be afraid you're gonna miss out because God's got somebody for you.
yeah, I
Um,
definitely want to have you, both of you on for that conversation as far
yeah.
as love, marriage, and relationships, particularly in
Mhm.
this generation when we see people getting married it's good for branding, it's good for business, it looks good for optics for social media,
Right.
and it's like, well, what is your life looking like out behind the camera, behind the gram? And what if someone does need a hip replaced or has a heart attack or things happen?
Mhm.
Are you going to stay there for that? They have to go through physical therapy. Are you going to be there for
Right.
that?
Right.
And Parents pass away, people get sick. There's a lot of
Mhm.
kids going through their thing and they have their little attitude. There's a whole lot. There's a lot of um, mountains and valleys in marriages. And so
Yeah.
weaving all that together and then, hey, is this person not just good because we look get good together, but are
Mm.
you good for my future? Are you good for my purpose? Are you good for my
Thank you.
spirit? Are you
Thank
strong
you.
enough to pick me up in the spirit if you know something's bothering me, even though I don't open up my mouth and say something? Do you have a prayer life to where you know how to go in and intercede on my behalf? There's so many other compartments and things to that. We hear the
Mhm.
term high value. High value, you can doesn't mean that you're high value because of what you make. You can
Mm.
be a high earner and
Yeah.
have a deficit in your character.
Wow. Wow.
So there's a lot of people screaming high value man, high value woman. No, you're a high earner, but your character has you emotionally and spiritually bankrupt.
That's right.
So these are things I would love to dig into you all with. Um, when I have you all to come back. There's
Mhm.
so much to unpack here, and definitely we need a part two as far as the development, as far as then getting into ministry in the church.
Mm.
Um,
Right.
because there's no way we can unpack all this in an hour,
It's
but we
not.
definitely have to do a part two to this
Yeah.
conversation, and when we bring you back to do the recap, and then how did you get into being a pastor and a leader and
Mhm.
congregation and the transparency. These are all things I want to dig deeper into you with you more, particularly from a male perspective, because there's so many platforms out here for women. You know, you have the
Mhm.
girl boss babe brunch and all this stuff going on, but I think it's so important for men to have a space to open up and talk and share their perspective, particularly when we start digging into that level, the component of faith in the conversation.
Right.
I think it's very important. I think it's very important for men to hear each other when they speak and share.
Mm. That's
So,
right.
with
That's
that
right.
being said, first of all, we've had a lot of people in the comments echo my soror. Hey, Kia. Hey, girl.
Aw.
Carl's my sorority sister. That's my girl right there. First Lady Belanger, we cannot go through this episode and not say hey, hi. Thank you for sharing him with us for this hour. We really appreciate it. Beverly, Faith Covenant family has been in here. Angela and
Mhm.
Olivia. List goes on. Thank you all for tuning in. Alicia, we appreciate you all so much. If you happen to miss this episode, catch the replay. But before we close everything out, Pastor Bellinger, if you have anything like a nugget, gem, something that you can drop on us, excuse me, until the next time you come back, and then where people can reach you on social media, please do so.
Absolutely. I think the biggest thing I would drop on anybody that's tuning in is there is such a deep purpose in your life, that, like, just don't ever quit on yourself. Don't ever quit on God. Don't just keep pushing and keep pressing, because like you're breathing in this time, in this season. You're alive. You're here for a reason. And I know that could sound cliche, but it's not. It is so real. Like Jeremiah 29:11, right? Like all of God's thoughts towards you are good and they're not evil. Like he has an expected end. He has a future that he has laid out specifically for your life. Nobody can be you. God's given you gifts. God's given you everything you have. Don't give up on yourself, because you do really have purpose. You might be in the middle of that journey, but journey, like that's why they call it journey. Like journey, go, keep pushing. If it's hour by hour, if it's day by day, if it's minute by minute, do it, because there's so much more that you have to offer to so many more people, right? And I look forward to seeing that. And I just want to encourage you, just let your faith and your obedience just line right up, and watch God work things out. If he did it for me, trust me, you heard some of my story. And Camille, that's like high top line. Like, trust me, in my book that I'm getting ready to release, then y'all gonna be like, whoa.
You gave us like a
Trust me.
snippet,
Right, exactly.
and
Exactly.
that was a lot. I was like, oh Lord. Whew. Wow, you definitely took us on a journey. Um, so you've written a book. we got to plug the merch. So tell us about this book, where it can be purchased. What is it about?
Right. Well, I have a little devotional, some things. I'm finishing the book on my own
So over
life.
here, we don't use the word little on our stuff. We don't say
Oh,
little
that's
stuff.
right.
Little,
So I got
yeah.
a big devotional that's on that's on my website, pastorbellinger.com. You can go and look at like any type of like my ebooks and some content things I have on there. So it's really, really easy. I'll put that in the comments for you too. It's pastorbellinger.com. But I am getting ready to release a book on the story of my life. I'm not going to release the title of it yet, but it's really going to be interesting. It's I'm paralleling my life to the life of Abraham in the Bible and the journey from the start to the end, and it's going to be phenomenal. So when that's released, you're going to be able to find that on our website and every other platform as well. Yep.
Whew. Y'all, we made it. Thank
And,
you.
and can we just give it up for Camille, like in the Speak Her podcast? Like, if y'all have not subscribed to the YouTube channel, you're way behind the ball. So I need y'all to subscribe right now. First Fruits Community Church, all of our members, first time guests, whoever, like subscribe to her channel, like her on Facebook, follow her on Facebook. I promise you won't regret it. Go back and watch other podcasts that she's done. They're very phenomenal. We haven't known each other long, have we? But look how God connects, and there's reasons behind it. Like even our connection here is more for everybody else that's chiming in, right? So there's blessings, there's healings, there's deliverance, and all of that just by connecting with this sister. I promise you that. Make sure you connect with her. Plus, she's
Oh,
connect. Her pastor is Pastor Mark Moore Jr. Come on, y'all. Listen, look at your neighbor. Say, "Same grace."
ow!
I can't do the rewind thing, but
You don't
I
get me sat
trying.
down. Oh my god.
Yes,
He
Lord.
dying to sit somebody down. I don't want to be the first. I don't want to be the inaugural sat downer. I don't
No,
want to be.
no.
Oh, he is a comedian as well. But yes, thank you all so much. I'm humbled, tickled, humbled, all the things. I'm those things right now. Um, but yes, I am so thankful for this time. I'm thankful for you trusting me with your story and your journey. A lot of people don't tell it because they feel ashamed, or
Mm,
in church we have these pretenses. We feel like we have to keep up for the people, and
right.
it's like that's not the case. Um, some of us have done things, and the only difference is we got rid of the evidence.
Mm, yeah. And you could be transparent without being like without like letting boundaries down. You know what I'm saying? You could be
Yeah.
transparent and you can, be authentic and genuine. That's good. Good Lord.
Yes,
Mm,
I'm looking forward to having you all back. This has been a phenomenal, phenomenal conversation. If you have not done so, as he said, please go and follow me on Instagram. I'm also on the YouTube channel. I am pushing towards my goal for this year of 10,000 downloads. Right now, I'm like at 8.4. So we're almost there. We're getting there, but we just have a little ways to go. Excuse me. But with that being said, one more special announcement. So, this is the 11th season of the Speaker Podcast, and next week we'll be wrapping up season 11 with the phenomenal
come on.
Dr. Matisa Wilbin. She will be here, and that's going to be, if you don't know her, you need to go and find out now. She's a phenomenal powerhouse. She's a boss babe out there in the world of education. She just did a TED talk. She's an author, she's a
Mm,
consultant, she's a lot of amazing things. So please join us next week. That will be June the 13th at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 7 o'clock Central Time, right here, same time, same channel on Facebook and YouTube. Again, I hope you all got something from this conversation. I
mm.
hope that something inspired you. I hope something blessed you, and even triggered you more. Put not triggered, but inspired you to dig deeper into what you're believing as far as your faith in God. Or if you feel like, oh, I'm struggling with something, if He can do it for Pastor Belanger,
Thank you. Y'all are easy. Y'all great. I'm just kidding. If he did it for me, right? He could do it for anybody, y'all.
Because I don't think
Anybody.
I've met anybody that was facing 77 years ever in life, ever.
Hmm.
So you all be blessed. Hold on, Pastor B. And then we're going to close everything out. But you all be safe out there. Um, have a blessed week and good night.
Good night.